In 1945, a 27-year-old with zero retail experience bought a failing store in rural Arkansas. His boss had explicitly told him he wasn't cut out for the work. Today, that single rural storefront has ballooned into an empire worth $600 billion. The standard narrative of the American dream, the hardworking farm boy building a billion-dollar empire, often obscures a darker reality. This is a story of the wreckage left behind when a business owner decides that winning is the only metric that counts. To understand how a company this massive operates, you first have to look at the vacuum that created it. Sam Walton was born in Oklahoma in 1918, right on the edge of the Great Depression. His family lost absolutely everything. His father spent years driving around the county repossessing other families' farms, including the properties of his own friends, because it was the only job he could find to keep his own family fed. Sam watched that happen. That experience created an intense obsession with money from childhood. He ran newspaper routes, delivered milk, and raised rabbits to sell. By the time he was in college, he had built a paper route that pulled in $4,000 a year. He made a quiet vow that he would never be poor and never be vulnerable to outside forces again. After college, he took a job at JCPenney. He was terrible at the paperwork and was nearly fired, which is when his boss told him he simply didn't belong in retail. So, in 1945, using $5,000 of his savings and a $20,000 loan, he bought a failing variety store in Newport, Arkansas. He immediately ignored standard retail practices. He drove through the night with a homemade trailer to buy cheap shirts and underwear from obscure wholesalers in Tennessee, deliberately bypassing the standard suppliers so he could sell for less than anyone else in town. The math worked. In his first year, sales jumped 45%. Within 5 years, it was the #1 Ben Franklin franchise store in the entire region. Then his landlord realized how profitable the location was, refused to renew the lease, and kicked Sam out so he could give the thriving business to his own son. Walton later described this as the lowest point of his life. He packed up his wife and 4 kids, and he decided he would construct a system where no one could ever hold leverage over him again. His next move was a direct overcorrection to that eviction. He found another small town in Arkansas and signed a 99-year lease. Nobody was ever going to take his shop again. He also developed a highly specific geographic strategy. He opened huge discount stores in tiny rural towns with populations so small that the massive national retailers didn't even bother looking at them. Walton used this geographic lockdown as a defensive shield, isolating his business to protect his turf from outside threats. When Walton targeted a town, he was entering an ecosystem that usually had a decades-old local hardware store, a clothing shop, and a grocer. This diagram shows the traditional supply chain those local shops ran on. They purchased their inventory through wholesalers, who added a markup before selling it to the local store. But Walton had built enough scale to bypass the middleman entirely. Even if the mom-and-pop stores sold their items at zero profit, their wholesale costs were still higher than the retail price on Walmart's shelves. There was no way to out-hustle or out-market that math. It was an engineered certainty that the local stores would fail. Sam Walton called this process competition. The dying local store owners called it predatory pricing. The strategy scaled rapidly across the country. By 1980, Walmart had 276 stores. By 1990, they had over 1,000. The scrappy hustle of a man trying to protect a single storefront had morphed into a highly calculated machine designed to eliminate all regional rivals. The admirable, obsessive shopkeeper who used to sweep his own floors had been entirely replaced by a massive corporate entity. Domestically, the company paid minimum wage to its floor workers, who they called associates, to soften the optics. Internal training even taught managers how to alter time records to avoid paying out overtime. Internationally, the supply chain relied heavily on foreign labor. Supplier factories in China were found to be paying their workers as little as 3 cents an hour to keep those retail prices artificially low. Sam Walton died in 1992. That year, Walmart pulled in $104 billion in revenue, while many of the rural towns that originally welcomed his stores had no independent shops left. Today, his heirs sit among the wealthiest individuals in human history, an immense fortune built on the foundation of hollowed-out local economies. There is a stark historical irony here. The corporation Walmart became did to thousands of independent businesses exactly what the Great Depression had done to his father's farm. They moved in, systematically undercut the financial foundation of the community, and took everything. It leaves you wondering, at what exact point did the small business owner become the monster he was originally trying to survive? At his core, Sam Walton's initial motivation was deeply human. He just wanted a business of his own, and he wanted to make sure nobody could ever take it away from him. That instinct to protect your livelihood is completely reasonable. The tragedy is simply the scale of the execution. I want to be clear about something. This isn't a story about a villain. Sam Walton's original instinct was right. Own your space. Protect your livelihood. Make sure nobody can take it away. That instinct is still the right one. The tragedy isn't the instinct. It's what happened when that instinct had no ceiling, when protecting yourself became destroying everyone else, when surviving became winning at any cost. Most small business owners will never face that choice at that scale. But the question underneath it is worth sitting with. What are you actually building, and for what? Sam Walton started with one store, a failed franchise in a small town, a 99-year lease because he never wanted to lose something he built again. He just wanted people to find his shop. He just wanted to survive. That part of the story is still true, and still worth something, even after everything that came after. If you want to go deeper into the Walmart story and how it changed American retail, I linked a few recommended books below, and I want to know what you think. Was Sam Walton a genius, a villain, or just a man who lost track of where survival ends and destruction begins? Tell me in the comments. And if this one got you thinking, the next video is waiting for you.